Hey there, Crustacean Nation, and welcome back to Lobster Tales on the Athens Rock Lobster Network. It's the go-to way for you fans to learn more about your favorite players. As always, I'm your host, Matteen Rad, and on this episode, I am glad to welcome someone who has impressed in his first 8 professional games as the only rookie blue liner on the Rock Lobster roster. He showed a calm composure on and off the puck and has had a seamless transition from the college game to the pros. Welcome to the show, Jordan Rosenbaum. Jordan, thank you for joining me, brother. Appreciate it.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Matteen.
Absolutely. Jordan, I want to start at the very beginning for you. You grew up in Gibsonia, Pennsylvania, and everything I see, it's a pretty small town in Allegheny County near Pittsburgh. What can you tell us about home that makes it special?
Yeah, so I'm about 20 to 25 minutes away from downtown Pittsburgh, suburbs. Pretty standard high school experience. Everyone there basically ride or die Pittsburgh. If you're from Pittsburgh, if you know anything about Pittsburgh, everyone loves the city. Have two great parents. They're always at games. So growing up, hockey was starting to become a thing when I was growing up in Pittsburgh. When I was very young, that's when the Penguins were kind of going through bankruptcy and Mario Lemieux was getting them out of the grave, basically. And then I started playing when I was about 6. Maybe we'll get into that story later. But yeah, pretty standard growing up, and hockey became my thing from an early age.
We'll definitely get into that because that's going to be a question later. But I want to go to the high school days. You were a standout D-man at Pine-Richland High School. One of, if not the greatest athlete to ever come out of Pine-Richland High School was Brandon Saad. And did knowing that he came from your high school, did that give you a real hope for your pro hockey dream that's kind of coming true right now?
Yeah, so a couple athletes when I was fourth, fifth grade, they were graduating. So about 10 years older than me. Brand Sod for hockey, Neil Walker for baseball, and he played for the Pirates. And Maggie Klingenberg, she played for the U.S. women's national team. They kind of were the foundation and put our school on the map for professional sports. And especially Brandon Sod, I got to know his brother, George. He coached my senior year. He was an assistant. He played Penn State club hockey just before they became a D1 team. So those couple people, especially Brandon, helped lay the foundation blocks for people from my school to start really believing that we could build something special.
And there was something special not only on the ice and in the locker room as well. In talking with Athens head coach Garrett Rutledge, he had stressed to me from the early beginnings of his tenure of how important the locker room culture was for him to build. And from my research, it sounds like you would have some simpatico with coach over that subject, because a strong locker room culture was really important to you and your high school teammates, wasn't that?
Yeah, it was. I think it was definitely different from that sort of standpoint from my high school team where you're with each other every day. School wise, you get to talk about the games and it's somewhat away from the rink, where here you're at the apartments and you do live together, but it's sort of a different balance from hockey to the outside world, where here this is everything to you. This is how you're making a living. Everyone's out of college, different age ranges. I'm 24, almost 25. Shinks is turning 35 today. And then at high school, you grew up with those guys and you kind of know them from the get-go. And everything I heard before I came here was, even in the 1 year, the locker room, the culture, everyone around in Athens loves it and everyone's nice. And I got here, everyone was super friendly. And it was the first time in 4 years that I had to deal with a new locker room. And it's been nothing short of special.
Well, that's very, very special to hear as well. And I'm glad that the boys have made that transition easier on you. That's something we'll talk about later as well. Your established hockey resume started when you were 14. You talked about being 6 and picking up a stick for the first time, but what really was that first memory when it came to hockey and picking up the sport?
So how I started was I would never want to watch hockey. I don't know why, I just never wanted to watch it. I grew up, at least from the get-go, playing baseball and soccer, and hockey was my third sport. And my dad bribed me with a bowl of ice cream to watch a Penguins game. And then sometime during the game, so within an hour or two of watching it for the first time and seeing Crosby, Malkin, and all those guys, I was like, I want to play hockey. My dad was like, oh crap, I didn't want that to happen. Um, but he made a deal with me. If I go to public skates and start learning from the ground up, not even having a hockey stick in my hand, just learning how to skate, if I like it after a couple months, then we can start playing. And I loved it right away. My hometown rink was 4 or 5 minutes away, super easy drive. We'd skate a couple times a week. And then after that fall or whenever that was, I started playing amateurly, and I've always loved it. Still love it to this day.
Talking about your roots, you bring up the Penguins, and obviously that's a big part of your story. But being a Pittsburgh boy through and through like you are, I know you're a Penguins fan and a Steelers fan. With the time that you were growing up, who was kind of more of a mythical figure in Pittsburgh at that time? Was it Big Ben or was it Sid the Kid?
I would say I would say Sid, just because of hockey and playing hockey. Um, I think football has always been and always will be the number one thing in Western PA, Pittsburgh specifically. It's just always a football town since the 70s and the steel curtain. But anybody, I'd say, under 30, 35, like Sid is their guy. And then you go anywhere and half of the people outside of Pittsburgh, they'll say their favorite player is Sidney Crosby. Like the guys that are coming into the league right now, they grew up idolizing Sid, and Sid's the guy. And even with like Connor McDavid and McKinnon and young guys coming into the league, they always say Sid is the guy, and he'll always be number one for sure for me.
I feel like you still see the big impact today with Sid because my cousin, who's an NHLer, he wears number 93 because he was born in 93, and Sid kind of started that. And because of Sid, now you see all of these guys. McDavid, 97 is another example. You see all these guys that put their birth year up on the back of their jersey. And definitely, I mean, he's much closer to the GOAT status conversation than Big Ben is too. But obviously, football is its own beast, no matter where you're talking about it. Getting back to on the ice, you've shown your ability with the Rock Lobsters already to get up in the offense and score a goal or set someone else up with a great play. But something I've mentioned on the broadcast before that is that you're someone that I find myself not saying your name too much. And for newer fans of hockey, and I think that shows just how strong of a defenseman you are for your experience level. Often enough, if a guy's trying to protect the net, you don't want to be saying his name too much because maybe that means he's making a mistake. How do you evaluate and put into words what your strengths are on the ice?
Yeah, so I think unless you're getting, say, a goal or assist, or you make like a great defensive play, not hearing a name of a player or seeing them somewhat stand out sometimes is a good thing, because then they're making good passes, they're making good plays, not too high, not too low. So I think from my standpoint, I'm a puck moving defenseman. I'm not too big, but I'm not tiny. So I can use my body to eliminate players from the puck, but I'm not going to be like Greco laying open ice hits in the neutral zone. Um, but I'm trying to get active in the offensive zone. And when I get the puck in the D zone or the neutral zone, I'm trying to get it up to my forwards, because our forwards are great skill guys. They can put the puck in the back of the net very easily. So if something bad happens where I need to escape and use my lateral skating ability, I can do that. But we've been stressing to play fast, get the puck up, let the forwards do the work, and then we can, from the back end, see the whole ice. And if we want to jump in, we can. If we want to move, switch, rotate positions, we can. But my strength for sure is passing, getting the puck up, and using my speed to my advantage.
And I'm sure you carved out a lot of that craft at SUNY Brockport, where you committed and played a crucial part of the Golden Eagles defense in your time there. Is there a moment or memory that sticks out among the rest from your time in Brockport?
Yeah, my freshman year, we started out 5-0, and this was just after COVID. So the sophomores for me, so the freshmen the year before, they thought up until I think it was January 1 that they were going to play. So they came in not knowing if they were going to play freshman year, and they ended up not playing. So my freshman year was freshman year for almost half of the team. And we started out 5-0. We were just outside the top 15, and 2 games against Plattsburgh were the highlight for sure. My second collegiate game, we beat Plattsburgh. I think it was 7-3, and I had an assist, my first point in that game. It was just ridiculous, nonstop action. They wanted to move the puck and just go up and down the ice, odd man rushes, activating everybody. It was just a fun, high scoring game like this past weekend. And then we get the playoffs, and we have to go to Plattsburgh, which from Brockport is a 7-8 hour drive. And this is in mid-February, so it's maybe 5 degrees. It's freezing. Everything's against you. It's an old school barn. And we won the game 6-5 in overtime. We came back. We were down 3 goals in the third. Came back, went to OT, had all the momentum, scored late. I think it was in the first OT, and it was just magical. That was the second playoff win in program history, and it was just a great year in general, but those 2 games were highlights for sure.
It almost sounds like Sunday afternoon's game. Well, listen, Jordan, at first I didn't realize how natural of a guest you would be for this show, because I didn't know that you had a podcast of your own at one point. And I wanted to know what you can tell me about the Get 'Em Up podcast and how that came about.
Yeah, so coming from somebody that's viewed probably from most people here as not a talkative person, they would think I'd be the last person to have one. But my teammate at Brockport for my first couple of years, my first 2 years, his name's Sam DiBattista. Great guy. He's a Buffalo guy through and through. Brockport's about an hour east of Buffalo. We talked about having one all the time because we would talk sports like it was basically a podcast, but just wanted to put it in audio form. So my first 2 years, that was his senior and 5th year. And then my junior year, he was a grad assistant coach. And then my senior year, he was finally not technically with the team. So he would come over once a week. We would record it. And it was a lot of fun. Talk football, talk a little hockey. Had some guests, had some teammates on, and some other people he knew in the hockey world. But yeah, it was a really fun time. Still might have some episodes. Never know.
I would love to hear them. It's an interesting name with a very specific cadence, very specific timbre to it. What was the inspiration behind the name? Because it's not Get 'Em Up, it's Get 'Em Up.
I'm up.
Podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was more so a Sam thing. He kind of coined that catchphrase. I don't know how long he's had it, but we were just thinking of different names, and that's kind of a catchphrase that he just made up and said. And a pause definitely helps it out, and Sam has a way with words. So
From the episodes I had listened to, I think it's clear that it's you and your buddy Sam DiPotetto, and you're just having fun. You're just having fun with it, having a good time. But are there any more kind of serious hopes for you that that were kind of involved with that podcast? And is getting involved in sports media something you'd be interested in doing in the future?
yeah, I don't know if that would necessarily be the number one. That's my job. I kind of like it as this is a good way to get away from whether back then it was school or if you have a regular job. I like it as a kind of getting away, get to talk about whatever you want, um, and just let loose.
Well, Bomber, that brings us to the here and now. It gets announced in the offseason that you're signing out of college for the Rock Lobsters. You're a point per game player right now, and it's been a seamless transition for you. How did you first learn about the Rock Lobsters, and how quickly did this opportunity develop for you?
So I have had every single year that I was at Brockport, one or two guys would go pro. A couple SB guys, a couple have gone to Europe, and then for the past two seasons, I've had two teammates that were in Binghamton. So one is still on the team, Scott Ramekers. So he's won back-to-back years. And the other, Nolan Egbert, he was a goalie. He's not with them anymore, but he was with them the past 2 years. Um, so when Binghamton was in Athens last year, those two guys kind of gave me some insight a couple months ago into how that went, even though with the rink situation last year, that it was a great place. Everyone around here loves it, and people that are looking to play are definitely looking to play here in this league. So I took that into account. I wanted to get away a little bit from the cold weather. I love snow and I love cold weather. I've always had it, but I would like to enjoy my time a little bit more and soak up the sun, which it's been great so far. Um, in terms of talking to the team, I got in contact with Coach Rutledge around middle of July. Um, I was wishy-washy May and June if I was going to play. I was looking into it for sure, but I didn't want to fully commit. I was kind of just looking around. And then once I was like, yeah, I want to play pro hockey. I want to play in Athens, hopefully. I got in contact with Coach Rutledge, and within a day of having my first conversation with him, I signed.
Is there a way where it kind of feels like, and not on the ice, but off the ice, does it kind of feel like college extended for you? I mean, now you're in this huge college town in Athens. You're still a young guy. I think you're the youngest guy on the team. Does it feel like, college part two, grad school, if you will?
Yeah, I'd say I don't think it's part two. I think it definitely feels like it, but my school had about 6,000 students, and a lot of them were commuters just because it's close to Rochester and somewhat close to Buffalo. Um, and I feel like any college age person, unless you go to an SEC or Big Ten school, you come to Athens, University of Georgia country, and it's like, holy crap. Like seeing a football game here, seeing all the people, all the bars that are here, it's just a culture shock. But I would say in a different way it is, but for the better. I think obviously not having to take classes and do schoolwork definitely helps out. But yeah, I mean it's awesome here. It's beautiful. It's a good spot to post college deal with not having classes, seeing how you spend your free time with your teammates, and yeah, it's been a blast so far.
Well, you've been paired on the ice with Matt Garcia so far this season, and he's someone who had to make the same adaptation last year from the college game to the pros. Is he someone who's helped you at all in making the step up?
Yeah, I mean, we do have some rookies, some young guys, but for him and his age, I mean, he can talk anybody up. And you go around town, and when we go to wherever it is, he was one of the core guys last year that spread the word. So he's done a good job in terms of vocally helping me on and off the ice. And then on the ice, he does a good job of communicating with me where if we need to make a play or we need to do something, he'll chat it up. It's not in a mean way or anything. Like I'm a very con- constructive criticism driven guy. I love hearing things. I don't necessarily want to get yelled at because in the hockey world, there's definitely some yellers. But if you want to let me know something's up, I'm glad to have a conversation. He definitely does a good job of telling me what he wants or what he thinks, and we go back and forth, and it's a good partnership so far.
Has there been anyone else that has helped you adapt and has been part of the welcoming committee, whether it's helping out on the ice or off the ice? I know you talked about kind of how nice the guys have been since you've showed up.
Yeah, I think everybody would say Shanks, Karsh, and Carrick first. Um, Captain does everything right on and off the ice, lets us play freely, do our thing, but he'll definitely say something when he thinks you should be doing something on or off the ice differently. Uh, Phil Fragili, he's also been a great guy, more so off the ice because he's a forward. Um, he's just a great leader, great speaker. He's been really good. And I'd say for some of the younger guys, I already mentioned Garce, but Luke Croucher and Carter McPhail, I've talked to a lot. Um, Going from college to pro, we're all kind of in the same spot. I think we've all been doing really well so far, but it's nice to talk to guys that are in the similar spot, similar role, and we've definitely fed off each other and given each other some pointers.
You scored in your first pro game. There was that red carpet event, and then of course the home atmosphere at the first home game at Aikens Ford Arena. What's been your favorite moment since arriving in the Classic City?
I think the first home game and the military night this past weekend, they both going into the rink, you could feel an atmosphere you can just feed off of. Even going in the warm-ups with the delay we had for the game this weekend, um, having more people in warm-ups and having the tank filled up. Um, it's just the crowds have been awesome. I haven't had this many people consistently at my games in a little bit, and it's sort of that football SEC where everyone's reacting to all the hits and all the big things that happen. So that's not necessarily a part of my game, but being on the bench and just hearing and reacting to everything that's going on, um, trying to not let it dictate your emotions too much, which I think I do a pretty good job of. But the crowds so far have been electric, and I can't wait to see them keep coming.
Was Military Appreciation Night specifically poetic and maybe somber to an extent for you? Because I do know your grandfather, Stanley, I believe his name was, who you lost, I believe, around 10 years ago now, was someone who served in the U.S. Army, and uh, you're one of the few guys, a lot of them, there's a lot of Canadian guys on the team, so there'd be different armed forces, but you're one of the few guys that has that real U.S. military connection on the team. Was that something you thought about on the day at all?
Yeah, I think from a lot of veterans, when they got back, the ones that are still with us, a lot of them, when they get got back to the country last century, whenever it was for them, they weren't treated very well. And I think, at least in my lifetime, I don't know how it was before, but I think giving them their flowers and whenever we can, just acknowledging what they did, because it's just unbelievable the amount of sacrifice and honor and what they have for this country, however they describe it for themselves. But to put your life on the line is something you can never repay. So, my grandfather, he was awesome. I lost him at 15. So I still have a lot of memories of him, but everyone you talk to in my family, if you bring up his name, they have numerous things that they could talk about, his personality. And yeah, I was thinking about him that day.
Well, rest in peace to him, the patriarch of your family. It felt apt to bring up as we're recording this today on Veterans Day, and seems like a good place to end my questions, but we'll lift up the mood a little bit as it's time for our Question a Crustacean segment. We ask fans to send questions in on both Reddit and the Athens Rock Lobster fan page on Facebook, and we have a ton to get through here. If you're watching at home and you want to send your questions in, keep an eye out for posts from me on both Reddit and the Facebook fan page. We'll start with Banshee Radio over on Reddit, who says, what's it like sharing shifts with Carter Shinkarik, Michael Greco, and Matt Garcia?
I'd say they have three different play styles. Usually, since I'm more of an offensive defenseman, pretty standard to be with a little bit taller of a defenseman. I've played with lefties or righties a bunch, so having all the righties isn't a big deal to me. Growing up, for Penn's Elite, most years we had basically all righties. Shanks, is going to get up in the play. He will vocally let you know where you should be when the puck's going anywhere. He'll be communicating, but he's going to drive the play a good bit, so you can not take a back seat, but he's going to set the tone really well. Greco, he lays the body. He's that bigger, like Dustin Byfuglien type of defenseman, where he can basically do anything. Skates really well, can shoot the puck, has hands. So he's kind of a hybrid. And then Garcia's the more so defensive, stay at home. Even though he's a little smaller, he can lay his body and fight, do whatever he wants to. So three different play styles, but they all do their part in helping me out.
JD Felt has our next question. Would you mind explaining to a guy from the South if there's proper etiquette for banging on the glass?
Well, I'd say the whole point of banging on the glass is to not have etiquette in the
I think that's a great way to put it. I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, if you have seats on the glass, obviously you shouldn't. No one's going to go over the glass or hopefully not throw anything, but that's your best way to get in the action. Hockey's the only sport where there's glass or something like that for out of bounds, but you're right there. So if a puck's pinned right in front of you and you want to yell or whatever, have fun at it. But etiquette wise, I think unless you're attempting to break it and put all of your body weight into it, it's perfectly fine.
Scold 124 with a very specific one. Which taco stand do you prefer, and how often do you go? Do you and Scold know something I don't know? Where's this question coming from?
I do not know. I haven't gone out. We usually go out on Tuesdays, obviously Taco Tuesday, but Yeah, I don't have a favorite so far. I've only been here like 5 or 6 weeks, so
You're gonna find your favorites. I'm sure the
yeah,
boys
I'll find one.
will.
I got to give everyone their flowers and give everybody a chance.
Farm Burger and Cali and Tito's. Those are my favorites. If you haven't yet. We move over to Facebook, starting with Tracy Herring, who asks, "Who is the prankster on the team?"
Well, the class clown is definitely Willie. I think everybody would answer that. I think sneaky because I drive them every day. Gleb and Danny, the Russian forwards, quietly they like to do their own thing in the most fun way possible, and I love tagging along with them. I've gotten to know them both very well. Actual prank wise, I'd say some of the older guys like Shinks or Phil, they definitely like to do some things to players' equipment or little stuff like that. We'll leave it at that.
General ribbing. General ribbing.
Yeah.
Well, Hope McIntyre has had a signature question this year. She says, "What is your favorite meal that you miss from home?"
So my both of my parents are great cooks. My dad had a deli before I was born in downtown Pittsburgh. Our
Was it called Rosenbaum's Deli? Because I feel like that
yeah,
just rolls off the
yeah,
tongue.
yeah. Um, our standard family meal we would have once a week would be salmon with broccoli and rice. Nothing special, but every time someone would come over, that's kind of like the go-to that we'd have. I always love a steak, um, but I've definitely gone into the steak game a little bit. But yeah, that's a good dish both my parents would make.
Well, luckily, I've seen your parents around a ton. So if you're ever really craving, any of those old dishes, you always have them around and make them. Our MVP for Question or Crustacean this season has been Karen Backrope, and so here's kind of the Backrope Power Hour, if you will. Question number one from her is, well, who is your favorite family member and why is it your dog? She adds, if y'all haven't met his pup, you're in for a treat when you do. And I've had the opportunity to meet him as well. And I can definitely agree. So who's your favorite family member? Is it your dog?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say just if you see my dog's always around because my parents go to a ton of games, and every time someone sees him, like you can't not have a smile around him. His name's Spash. He's a 3-year-old golden retriever. Um, he's just the perfect dog to have around because dogs are the best. Like they just put a smile on your face and give you a good time, and they're always there for you. And besides my I'll give my parents and my sister a shout out, but my dog's definitely a good one to have.
Well, I like questions like this next one. Karen says, you're stranded on a deserted island. Which one teammate would you want with you? I'm trying to think who would be like the survivalist of the group, and nothing's coming to mind.
I think a good outdoorsman. He's always walking around the apartments here. I think Luke Croucher could give a run for your money. I'd like to stick with some of the young guns. Um, I think he just has a way with just knowing nature. I haven't seen it up and personal to yet, but I think he's got good knowledge.
He's a good conversationalist too. He's a
Yeah.
fun guy to talk to. Our final question of the day, also from Karen: which Athens forward is the hardest to defend against in practice, and why?
I'd say a good standard answer would be uh, Garrett Milan, just because he's so shifty, his vision. He knows what he wants to do with the puck, and almost every time he's going to put it on someone's tape, or if you let him shoot, he's putting it past the goalie. Um, I'd say another one. I think the older guys like Phil Fragili, like the difference between college and pro, all of the simple things that people do, they're executing in pro at a higher rate. Like in college, the passing and simple stuff like that, not every pass is being on the tape or being right by your stick. Here, everything is right on the tape. And with Phil, his vision and just knowing how to put a defenseman in a weird spot where you have to think and you don't 100% know where the puck's going to go. Phil's very good at putting you in those vulnerable spots.
A vision, you brought it up, is definitely the word I think of when I think of Phil. He's one of those guys that feels like he's got eyes in the back of his head, whether it's Galley on one wing or Croucher on the other the first week, no matter who's on his wing, he knows where they are. And Jordan, that's going to wrap it up for us. And I hope this has brought back some positive memories from your podcasting days. And then I'm going to be on the lookout for the return of Sam and your show, man, hopefully soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Well, guys, that does it for Bomber and me here on Lobster Tales. The Rock Lobsters head to Binghamton to take on the Black Bears in a battle of the FPHL's 2 division leaders. Catch it live on YouTube or Sporfy. As for Lobster Tales, this is Matteen Rad saying so long. We'll see you next time.